This is Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Tell you what, plenty of sport happening over the weekend, and kick things off with Australia very successful with the Gillaroos and the Kangaroos both getting victories, man.
Good, amazing. Sort of off the beaten track. Can you imagine playing your whole entire season, getting, for some of those rugby league players, getting all the way through, playing the grand final, and then you have to go and play. It's like been 8 weeks for them across in the UK and International World Cup. It's a fair effort, and congratulations to them, World Cup champs. Brilliant.
I love it when Australia wins.
Yeah.
But a part of me wanted Samoa to get up.
I know. Well,
because it was amazing that they made the final in the first place, and the Samoan community went nuts for it, and rightly so. Like, they're such a tiny nation, and to get that close to glory, amazing. And they celebrated like they had one. I love that.
Yeah, and so those little narratives, those storylines that sit a part of a World Cup, and
I love that stuff.
We're just going to get to the FIFA World Cup, coming up now after kicking off last night. But Samoa, great story. I guess when you're playing Australia, who've been so dominant for so long, the expected result happened. But exactly
the
right.
The fact that they beat England to make it to the final, it was an amazing thing for them.
Cool.
Well, Nat, the thing about the Samoan team is a lot of those guys are playing, all of them, they're playing the NRL and they're top-level players. And they're saying that because a lot of these guys have got heritage to Samoa, not necessarily everyone's playing for their team at the moment because they're labelled as like a Category B team or something along those lines. Which means,
they have to qualify to
get there. So some of the guys go, I'm going to put my allegiance to playing State of Origin for Queensland and New South Wales, and therefore I'll play for Australia.
Yes.
So their team could be more stacked.
It could be, right.
It's a bit like the old State of Origin footy days where, WA guys were playing for Victoria, South Australia, the same sort of thing. They have to choose, but congratulations to them. It'll be
it was amazing.
So good story. Now the Wallabies. Speaking of UK, the Wallabies, Shauny over there, 3 in a row they've lost. Probably should have beaten Ireland on the weekend.
Well, they had a chance, and what they've been, and it's continued against Ireland as well. What they've been really poor at. They're the number one team in the world for giving away penalties. The number one team.
Okay,
that's the big criticism.
It's good to be number one, right?
Not on this occasion. It's a bit like number one person to hit it into the water when you're playing golf or double bogeys.
Right.
You don't want to be.
It's not a great record.
No.
Okay.
Dave Rennie under pressure?
He's got to be. Would you think that? So a lot of people are saying maybe we just don't have the players. But I say this before because this happened years and years ago when before Justin Langer took over WA cricket. They were just saying they don't have the players.
Yes.
That's why they've been unsuccessful. He comes in within about 6 months to win and everything.
All of a sudden they have the players.
All of a sudden, and you look around the league at the moment and you go, apart from the guys who play Big Bash for the Scorchers, every other team have got a WA guy in there because there's heaps of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that flies, Pav, the lack of depth.
No, and look, Adam Voges, speaking of the cricket, they are dominant at the moment, top of the shield, absolutely killing
it. They can do no wrong.
But it looks like their depth of talent, and so maybe. And this is your point, is saying, how do you get the best out of all these players? Dave Rennie, are they getting the best out of that Wallaby squad and everyone else that sits in that squad? Someone like Justin Langer that's been passed down to Adam Voges is definitely getting the best out of all of that squad.
So do you think that Justin Langer should be coaching the Wallabies? Is that the answer?
That's exactly what we're saying. JL, give the Wallabies a call. Or Wallabies give JL a call.
Standing next to a front row would be hilarious.
It would be funny.
He wouldn't be intimidated though.
No, that's true.
Daniel Ricciardo as well, finishing up 9th place, but he's going to be a test driver for Red Bull next
How would you
season.
go? So, Nat, you've been here 20 years now, and we say, the big bosses say to you, you know what, just go and read in the twos first.
you can do Saturday mornings for a while.
Yeah, that's right.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
that's Harry's job.
He's having to eat some humble pie, isn't he? But look, he's doing it in the way that we all love.
What does the test driver get paid? Is that still a fairly well-paid position?
I think it'd be pretty good.
Wouldn't be anywhere near the wicket he's been on after going from Red Bull to Renault, which I think that was, Drive to Survive, we all have watched that, and the decision-making all the way back when he went from Red Bull as the 2i second in charge, if you like, to Verstappen and made the decision to go to Renault. If you look back on that, do you think, it's a big paycheck because he's gone there and then to McLaren, but he's now out of a seat. It's really interesting.
He could have been winning multiple Grand Prix, still staying with Red Bull, getting paid a pretty good wicket anyway, but he might have been beaten by Max the whole way around. But
But coming second every time's not so bad.
It's a hit. And finally, Pav, the AFL guys are back, particularly here in the West Coast boys.
So for day one of when you go back to work, day one, like after a long break, you just, I mean, you guys are about to enjoy a long break, and then you'll have this, time
when
you come back, February, January?
No, it's mid-January. But when we come back, it is like we start talking. It's like, God, I've almost forgotten how to do this again.
Yeah.
Haven't we?
Well,
it's weird.
That's what's happening today for West Coast and also a number of AFL teams. Day one of pre-season. The Nerves, Shauny, the 3K time trial, 2K time trial, the Skinnies. I remember, walking into the dietitian's office the first day after an off-season going, oh, geez, I hope the calipers are kind to me today.
This is before the Christmas pudding kicks in.
Shout out to the big Hayes there who you would always walk into.
Leave him alone.
No, he's wonderful. I love him. He knows that. And he would walk in and he'd just shut the door because normally we'd all be in there together with our shirts off, go trying to fudge the numbers.
Nobody needs to see this.
Actually, I remember a couple of guys would go in and I'll mark for you, Shauny. And so, the dietitian would go, triceps 6. I'd write down 4.
Do they still do that, or do they just put you on a scanner now? Like, because there's machinery that can do this.
That's a good point. I think the DEXA test and a few of those, and that's the whole body composition. So, bone and lean muscle and fat and everything else.
That's going to give you a bit more information.
That's much more of a thorough process. But I think
and
just as a reading,
system.
skin folds. Look, it's old-fashioned, but it gives you a reading, like all of it does. So
there was an occasion at one stage where we had a group called the Fat Club, and they would have to turn up on Saturday morning and get punished.
We've all been a part of it at some point. Well, maybe I have. You haven't, Shauny.
I was just thinking, in this day and age, that would never
you can't do that. That's not right.
Extra training, cross-training
like
on Saturday
remedial
morning, boxing, bike riding.
Lots of cardio and stuff.
Until you drop your skin folds enough. So
and you put down the Tim Tams as well.
Well, all bodies aren't the same,
No, that's true.
That's the thing.
I think times have changed a little bit in that way, but Fat Club.
See Saturday morning, guys.
Oh, it wouldn't fly these days.
We're not going to the beach. No one wants to see that.
Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Well, Nat, the World Cup got underway last night. As usual, the host nation kicks things off. They went down 2-0 to Ecuador.
How'd that go down? I thought in their world, surely they must think they can rig it.
Well, I would have thought so. I mean that's how they got the comp in the first place, didn't they?
Exactly.
The one thing, they were never in the game. They actually could have got beaten, Well,
they're not a renowned soccer nation, are they?
No, there's a lot of Middle Eastern countries though that are.
I mean, I know they play, but in the rankings, would they have qualified if they weren't the home team?
No, they would have been up against it. They would have been playing us. They would have been and we would have been expected to beat them.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, they get the host. So they're the first host nation in 92 years since the competition started to lose the opening match.
Oh, how embarrassing!
That is super embarrassing. And I did mention before we went to the break that so there's been reports that. Qatar have paid a whole heap of people to dress up in other nations' clothes to look like there's big bands of English supporters and Argentinian supporters and Colombians and all the rest of it to make sure that there's an atmosphere provided from day one.
But won't it be pretty obvious? Like, I mean, if they're all wearing orange shirts and pretending to be Dutch, if they're not actually speaking Dutch, isn't that the giveaway?
Yeah, well, there was another couple of people who said, they don't have to all have be Anglo-Saxon looking white people.
I understand that.
To go for the English, but no,
But you would think that if they are going for the English, no matter what they look like, that they would speak English.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. Like the Barmy Army, they sing songs in English because they are supporting England.
They certainly
and
are.
no matter what colour they are.
Yeah, I don't know. They keep referencing that there's 10, say for the Socceroos, 10,000 people that have gone over to follow the Socceroos. I'm not sure if that is quite accurate. But all the other nations are going to have representatives over there. For most of the people who go over there, and we'll talk about this later on, you're going over there to have a really big time party.
Yeah, of course.
But when they're not providing alcohol at the games anymore, you'd be flat Stanley with that.
Yeah, and the fact that we only found that out within the last couple of days, it seems to be finding that out fairly late in the piece, you know what I mean?
I would have thought so too, yeah. I'd be up in arms over that one. Moving on to other sports just for a second, the Scorchers and our WBBL I'm talking about, they are now officially out of the running for the finals.
They're the defending champions and they've crashed out.
They lost 2 in a row over the weekend and they have got a really, really good team.
To be fair, one of those was Duckworth-Lewis after only 8 overs because it was crappy weather. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've got a really good team, so they've underachieved.
Do. Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah.
They'll be very disappointed with that.
Yeah, very.
And they had such a cracking start to the season, so they came out of the gates wildly and then just fell off the cliff.
Yeah, they did. Just goes to show you momentum is everything in the short form of game.
That's very wise words, Shaun.
And the West Coast Eagles start their pre-season training for the first and fourth year players today. So those boys will be sweating it out, and no doubt just about every time, I'd imagine straight away they'll have their 2K time trial and or, multiple 1K time trials.
Yes.
And no matter how many years you've done this and how many times you've suited up for these running events and all that, you sweat bullets. You cannot sleep at night because the pressure is enormous.
Of course it is. And for the first-year players especially, because they're really looking to impress. But it's like, why couldn't we have started on Friday when it was 17 degrees and not today when it's going to be 29 or tomorrow when it's going to be 33?
Yeah.
Like, to do those time trials in the heat is, even more, exhausting.
Yeah, it'll be punishing first up because they're not used to the heat to start with. But good luck to all those guys who are going to get out there doing their best for the West Coast Eagles.
Onwards. Here we go.
Let's see what they've got.
Shaun Sport is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.